Welcome back to GoodKnit Kisses. I'm your host, Kristen. The Picot Bind Off is very pretty. It has a nice delicate edge to it. It has these little nubby scallops on it. It's very delicate. The smaller yarn that you use, this is a super bulky, so it's super nubby. We are going to do a cowl, and I'm going to cast off. I happen to be using the Martha Stewart loom. You can go in the round or you can go in a flat panel. This one happens to be for a cowl, and it's got 52 stitches. The key is that you want to have a multiple of 2 at a time. You're going to need a crochet hook appropriate for the yarn that you're using. Again, this is a super bulky 6, so I am using a K hook. This is actually a 6.5 millimeter that came with the loom, and then I've got a loom pick tool. You may want some removable stitch markers right here. I have started at the working strand, and if I was going to go onto my next row, then this would be my number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and keep going around. So this is the end. So I'm actually marking my 1 and 2 peg because we're going to bind off 2 at a time, but every time before we bind these off, we're actually going to add 2 and bind off 4 at a time, and then we're going to add 2 more and bind off 4 at a time. So we're going to do a few series of these, and then we'll come back up in the end and I will show you what it looks like. We want to actually cast on here, and I found that the best way to do it is actually to do a crochet cast on, but I always have to turn it around in order to do it. Okay, so I've turned my loom around, and what I want to do is take my working strand around the back of these pegs. Now we're actually going to ignore the bottom here, these first 2 loops. Just ignore them like they're not here, because this is how you would do it if you were in a flat panel. And we're going to add these 2, and our point is to bind these 2 off. So I'm just taking advantage that there's actually loops here. So I want to pull this working strand back with my crochet hook between my where the working strand is connected, this first peg here, and now I'm going to wrap it around here and put my crochet hook down here, and then wrap the hook and pull it through this new loop that I'm making. And then now I'm going to put the crochet hook on here. Now I'm going to turn the loom back around. I've got these that I'm ignoring down below, and then I have this new loop here that's like a slip stitch, and then I have this other one. What I want is to E-wrap and knit off this first stitch. And now I'm going to E-wrap and knit off this second stitch. And now I want to move the second stitch over to the first stitch. And knit off. And now let's move this first stitch over to the second, put it here, and we want to E-wrap around what was the third stitch, and now we're going to take the bottom over the top. We see that? Now we're going to put this stitch here over on this new first added stitch over here. Okay, now go ahead and knit off this. It's actually the middle one, just on this first set. It's this middle one here, and then knit over. Alright, and then we're going to bring it on over, place it back on this peg. Now we want to E-wrap this stitch, knit over, pick it up, and put it on this stitch here. Knit over. Okay. Pick it up again. And now E-wrap this next stitch here. Pick it up. Pull it up. knit over, and now we're going to pick this whole thing up and move it down. We have now casted off, bound off these 2 stitches, but because we added the other 2 stitches, now we have this little picot. Do you see how you have this little nubby picot here? Okay, so now it's going to get a little less confusing because we're going to have a couple in front of us, and we won't have these here with any stitches on here. So we're going to turn the loom back around. Okay, we've turned our loom around, and I'm going to add on 2 more stitches. Crochet cast on 1, and then take the extra loop and move it here. That's it. Turn the loom back around. Got your knitting tool. We want to do the same thing again. We're going to E-wrap this first stitch, E-wrap the second stitch, and then bring it over to the first stitch so that we can bind it off this new first stitch. See, when that's done and we move it over, it's binding this one off. You see how this one is now bound off? We don't need to do it again. So now we want to bind off this one. So we're going to E-wrap. Okay, and then we pick it up and move it over. Knit off. Okay, now we're going to pick this up, move it over, and now these first 2 added stitches are bound off. Now we want to completely bind off these 2. So we're going to E-wrap, knit over, move the stitch, knit it over. That one's bound off, so you could keep saying in your head that's the 3rd bind off. And then wrap this next set back over here because we want to bound off the 4th one. Take that, knit it off, move your 4th bind off. Okay, so just to run that through again, see, we've now just completed 4 bind offs. This is going to be a long process, but the rewards are great. You've got 2 cute little picots here. See that? 1, 2. And they fit in between where these 2 stitches were. So that's why you need 2 stitches for every picot. So I have 52 stitches, so I'm going to have half that many picots that go around my loom. So just to let's do this one more time, and then you can pause your video and keep rewinding and come back until you've completed your project if you need that as a reminder, and then I'll come back in the end and show you how to finish it up. I'm going to do one more section with you. So remember, we want to add 2, so we're going to do that now. We're basically run it down again. We're adding 2, then we bind off 4. And you can count them: bind off 1, bind off 2, bind off 3, bind off 4. So add 2, bind off 4, add 2, bind off 4, add 2, bind off 4, and you kind of get the gist of it. Turn your loom around, and we're going to add 2 stitches. Okay, so we're going to put the working strand over the peg that we want to add. Put this back here, pull it around, making the loop, and then putting this last loop on our peg. So now we've got those 2 on there. Go ahead and turn it around. And now we're going to bind off. Binding off the first one. Always knit this very first stitch. And then this is the normal bind off. One bind off. 2 bind off, 3 bind off, 4 bind off. And there you have it. So if you'll say them in that rhythm, then you'll have it. So we've done 3 picots. Go ahead and go around the rest of the loom. And like I said, back up the video and keep pausing and rewinding if you need it. That's what it's there for. And meet me back up at the end. I wanted you to see what this looks like. Now this is a reversible fabric. This is on the inside. So the outside is going to be, it's a garter stitch. But this is how the picots are looking. Now you can kind of play with them and make sure they pop out. But after a while they'll end up laying down. So this nice edging is what we're going to go for, and it's not a tight edge at all. It has a little bit of a stretch to it, and it's very cute. It'd be a great finish to a blanket or the beginning of a hat. And the brim of a hat for baby. You could do a drawstring cast on and use this edge for that, but this we're doing on the cowl for now. So I just wanted to show you that, what you're going for, and continue on, and I will meet back up with you in the end. Let's bind off one more time. We're going to take this strand and cut it. So we've got this pulled through and we want to connect them together. So we are going to put this right here, and we're going to grab the stitch back here behind, and we're going to make a slip stitch. So we've grabbed a stitch, we're going to pull this through, leave a loop on here, and then wrap over and pull it through. And we made a knot. And you have got this all done. You're going to weave in your end here. Got a beautiful edge on your cowl, blanket, or whatever you want to do. Thank you again for joining us at GoodKnit Kisses. Happy looming!